Hi, it's Therese from Lostinpaper and I'm here for Scrapbook Boutique today, and we're going to be making our own bespoke speech bubbles. But first I'm going to organise my card elements, and I have this Moody unicorn set from Gerda Steiner Designs and the matching dies, and these are just so cute. They're probably one of my favourite unicorn sets in the stamping world, and I thought it'd be fun to create sort of a scene where I use all the 3 different unicorns that are in the set and have them sort of like speaking with some speech bubbles across the scene. I don't know why. Anyway, I thought it would be a fun idea, so I'm going with it. I am going to be doing some Copic Coloring, so I've stamped them on some white smooth cardstock and with some Memento Tuxedo black. It's probably still my favourite ink to use for Copic Coloring. I know it doesn't give you the deepest, darkest black, but it is, I find it's actually a really good go-to ink. And if you really wanted a blacker black, then the trick that I often will do is actually stamp it out with my Misty, leave the stamp in place, like stamp it out with the Tuxedo black, leave the stamp in place in the Misty, and then colour my image and then pop it back into the Misty and then restamp over the same image again with, like, say a bolder black ink like the Onyx black. But there are some other black inks out there that work really well with the Copic markers, and I do have a couple of them as well, and I do like them, but I just, for some reason, I just keep going back to the Memento Tuxedo black. I'm not sure why. Anyway, I want these unicorns to look white. So to do that, I've added shading with the sort of warm, so it's almost like a warm grey. And it does look quite dark when I'm colouring it up, but you know, you do actually need it darker than you think, because once you add your colours, like my multicoloured mane here, then to have that little bit of extra depth, especially on such a clean and simple card, is just going to give it a bit more body. I don't know. Anyway, because my card's pretty much all white, so I did want these unicorns to stand out and be special. The grey that I coloured the hooves and the horn with wasn't quite dark. I didn't like it. It wasn't dark enough, so I did come back in with my T4 and add a darker grey, and that seemed to work a whole lot better. So for me, this set was a must-have for the matching dies, because look at that mane. And I really love this set, so I know I'm going to use it a lot. So I didn't want to be fussy cutting around that mane, so I don't. Now I have the matching dies, and they're so cute. So once I worked out exactly where they needed to be, I'll just hold them in place with some tape and then just run that through my die cutting machine. And that's so much easier than fussy cutting all of them. So I did keep all these unicorns the same tones in the hair to make it look like it's the same unicorn speaking with the speech bubbles. So I wanted coloured cardstock behind my speech bubbles in the words, and to get an exact match, what I decided to do was just use some white cardstock and some Copic markers and create my own coloured cardstock. Now the largest sentiment wasn't going to fit in the die that I have for the speech bubbles, so, and I did want it to be like not, you know, like what am I trying to say? I did want it to be like a straight line. Thank you. And the way I got around that was to actually selective stamp the words using some post-it notes and lots of cleaning in between. So I did all 3 sentiments, just chose them, they're all from the same stamp set, and stamped them out with some Onyx black. And then I've got my MFT. These are the rectangle word window frame dies, and I really like the way that you can either use them like independent independently or with each other. So it actually cuts a frame out around like a window, and it's sort of built for sentiments. Now this sentiment was wobbling on this large block, so how I got around that was to use a couple of other sentiments around that. As I stamped, it was just less likely for me to overstamp and press too hard. I did die cut my 3 speech bubbles out of some black cardstock and also out of some fun foam, and I'm just using some multi matte medium to adhere the actual sentiment rectangles on top. And while they're drying, I decided it'd be fun to add some foil dots around the unicorns. So this is a panel, and it's cut to the same size as my card front, and I've just used my Deco Foil adhesive pen and dotted around each of the unicorns, added some silver foil, popped it in a carrier sheet. You can just use some copy paper, and just ran it through my hot laminator. And then when you add Deco Foil, you do need to use it with the shiny side up or the pretty side up, and then that just transferred across. And I think my biggest problem is that I don't wait for the glue to dry, so I'm trying to be very good and wait for the glue to dry before I actually add the foil. So now I'm just putting my card together. I've adhered the panel to the top of a top fold landscape card, and I'm just working out the placement of my unicorns and speech bubbles. And I've got a dotted adhesive. This is from Tombow, and what I like about the dotted adhesives is you can use them on these thin sort of die cuts, and they'll only adhere to the bits of cardstock that you have, so it means it's not going to hang over the edge and get on the rest of your design. I've hand cut some little speech bubble talking things. I just drew a pencil on some black cardstock and cut it the way that I want, and then picked it up with the dotted adhesive exactly where I want it to be on the cardstock, added some more adhesive, and then I can just adhere it straight down onto my card front. And I do the same thing with all 3 of the speech bubbles, because these are actually going to be added directly to the card front. And then all I need to do is add my sentiments, and I can just use a normal adhesive for this. So I've got my ATG gun. Is that what it's called? It's a gun? I think so. That's cool. Anyway, I've used my ATG to add the adhesive to the middle of the speech bubbles, and then now that the liquid adhesive is dried, I can just pop each of the sentiments in place. So now I sort of think that it looks like it's the same unicorn. You know, it's all saying this little talk. It's like he's a comic book unicorn. And then I can just pop each of the unicorns up. I have just used some scrapbook adhesives, little foam squares. I really like these squares. I think I've said that before. And that's pretty much my finished card. So thanks for joining me today. I hope you've had heaps of fun. I have had a blast using these sweet products from Scrapbook Boutique. I'll see you around. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.